Oh, yeah.
Real life touch to them.
I'd like to call this regular board meeting to order for September 9th, 2025. First order of business is a call to order. Lori Grant here.
Susan Collins here.
Boyd Hardy here.
Roger Cox here.
And we have four. Item 2, Pledge of Allegiance. If you guys could all stand. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item 4, call to the audience. So per Arizona Revised Statute 38-431.01, the board may refer to administration or request to have it placed on a future agenda. And we do have Mr. Bear here wanting to speak to us.
Madam President, board members, Superintendent Dorner. I'm here to talk about the Moodle classes, and not specifically about the Moodle classes, because I know by law we have to do them. I understand that. But 5 hours to complete mandatory classes that are unpaid. Now, let me put it in perspective. If I skip, as a teacher, any of those Moodle videos, it forces me to restart them. Meaning, I start it all over again. I can't just go take the test, even though I've been taking the same test for the last 20 years with the same basic information there. The issue is, if I'm a student in this district and doing an online class, I can skip all the videos. This is a program I need to graduate. I can skip all the classes. There is no punishment for missing any of them. The computer just lets me continue on, and I'm allowed to progress onward. Why is it that teachers aren't allowed to move onward when kids are the state's more than willing to let us? Or the program is, one of the two. Shouldn't we have the same standards for both groups here? I mean, theirs is their education. So if they're skipping the videos, where are they getting the information from? Since they're not supposed to have phones, they're not supposed to have off-district computers. So how are they getting the information to take their test and to take their things over, since that is a locked score in that? And again, if we fail our test, we have to restart it again too. We don't just get to retake it. And the district gets a notice if we skip the videos, because it doesn't show the course completed just because I get a passing grade. It notifies them that I still haven't done my work. And that's where the crux of the problem is. We've had several teachers complaining of this issue because there's just, like I said, 5 hours of video, and it's time away from doing other work. And at the high school this year, remember, we transferred to 2 days of work every day, which meant everybody has to read lesson plans. At the same time, that's at the beginning of the year, because over the summer, they're not paid to work over the summer on lesson plans. So again, you're doing that 5 hours of Moodle in the same time period. You're expected to be prepping for classes and prepping for lessons. So that's a lot of our time that's spent on those type of things. And that's where the crux is here, like I said. We should have the same standards. If we're gonna make teachers watch the videos, it should be the same way with kids getting their education. If that's how they're electing to do it online, then watch the videos also. And force them back into it until they watch the video. That's it. That's all I had. Like I said, it's not about the Moodle. It's about equality in their education.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other requests?
Do we get to ask a question? No?
If you would like, Dr. Cox, you can direct to staff to look into it if you want.
Maybe we could look into that more.
Okay.
I'll give a report on that at the October meeting.
Wonderful, thank you. Item 5, reports. Dr. Dorner?
Vice President Grant and members of the board, I would like to introduce Principal Dana Morski and Vice Principal Deborah Kelly to share a report on building community connections.
Vice President Grant, board members, Dr. Dorner, thank you for having us here today. I'm here to present a PowerPoint on the connectivity to our communities and the power that it helps our school grow, and the importance for your outlying schools to stay connected with the state and the area. The first slide here represents the wingspan of our connectivity from the in-town, all the schools in town, we all work together, stay connected, the district, everybody at the district office, Black Mountain, Golden Valley, Mount Tipton, reaches all the way out to Dolan Springs. Within those two schools, we have the 21st Century program that kind of brings the glue together to keep connectivity with the state and the federal level, bringing in funds and ideas to supply after-school programs for our kids and stuff. So it's very important that we keep expanding our connectivity larger and larger to allow our kids to grow and see things outside of our area. On the next slide, Ms. Kelly wants to speak to you about us recognizing some needs with bringing in new students in the outside areas and stuff. So
I think what prompted us sending a welcome letter to all of our new families was to let them know about our mission and what our values are at the school. We are a Cambridge school now, and we wanted them to feel welcome. When we heard the community members from Dolan Springs, when they lost their 6th grade, and they came over to us, transitioned to us, we understood, you know, where they were coming from, but we also wanted to convey to them that we do care. We know the transition can be really difficult. So we just had to step it up a notch. So our new kindergarten families and our Dolan Springs, Meadview, White Hills, Chloride kids, we just wanted to make sure that they felt welcome. Oh, sorry, I'm not doing my job very well.
So on the next slide, just a representation of how many resources, the following slides will show the resources that we pull in just at Black Mountain alone and stay connected with the community. One of the biggest ones is our street team, which involves many different agencies, AZYP, Mojave Mental Health, Mojave Health Department, MCC, just agencies that come in for our Meet the Teacher night, and they set up in the gym and they supply resources, information for the families to help them out, make sure they're getting fed, shelter, psychological help, anything they need. We cover a wide span of their needs. We reach out and we're connected to the churches locally and within Kingman. They do a lot of donations and support our children, not just on holidays, just they supply backpacks and supplies for our students on the opening of school. We have Walk Away from Drugs. It keeps our students connected with, you know, staying safe, and our police departments and fire departments. We also, one of our largest projects was Roseburg Farms. They received a federal grant, and they come every other Friday, and they set up, and they receive funding to supply farm fresh foods and eggs to community members for free, and that's open to anyone and everyone. They do not have to apply for anything. So we saw a need within the community to help people out because they were having trouble with some of our food banks there. Next slide. And then just to continue, we work within our district. We work with the CTE and the WAVE program to connect our 7th grade and 8th graders to their future possibilities and get them excited about just all the trades, everything, not just going to college for a 4-year degree. We're partners with AZ at Work. Our PTBO has gotten larger, and it involves a lot of parents, and they connect us to outside businesses and help us build our network there. Two of our strongest and powerful people in Golden Valley that step up, they coach for us. Coach Master Angelo from Little Cafe and Amber Crabtree from Amber's Mutt Hut. Amber joined us for our town hall at the district, and she's pushing that initiative to build that kind of communication up within the community to just keep everybody connected there.
She's been invaluable in helping us connect out to the community.
Next slide. We have, sorry, my eyes get a little blurry. So these are, I'm sorry, I have diabetes, and when I get nervous, I get blurry, so I gotta see the slides. Okay, so this is just all the connections that our students are making through Student Council. They participated in the Route 66 Summit to get their input into how to connect with the younger generation, to those committees, how they could change things to connect to the younger generation to sustain the historical value of Route 66. Our students go and visit UNLV through Student Council, and some of the other things are concerts and cultural literacy nights that we bring in the international teachers, so we stay connected that way, and they come in and share their culture with our students. We have the Elks Club, the American Legion. We're involved with the VFW, so they all stay with us, and they bring things for the kids, and they do things for our school there. This is just more of the events. We have Sergeant McCool and Chance, his patrol dog, Canine. He comes in and educates our elementary kids on what he does, and gives them a show, and they really love Sergeant McCool. We have Trunk or Treat, which is a large event for the community. We extended out to, we've offered to have one of the local schools join us in our parking lot, just to bring everybody in the community with a safe place, and it's very successful. It allows to keep the kids off of the back dirt roads and stuff, and they have one central place to join us. The big picture there is our Growing Winter Concert, which brings in a lot of people, not just from Golden Valley. This one we experienced a lot of relatives have come in now to experience what our music teachers built connections with, teaching the kids, the fine arts and we want to appreciate our connection with the local businesses, Safeway, who's always, contributing to the school systems and helping us out, and they're always willing to help us when we call for food or anything like that. The list on the side there, that is from Bullhead all the way to the other side of Kingman. We were coming up to 4 days before our field day, had nothing. Amber Crabtree started reaching out, and they just flooded the school. And we had water coming everywhere, hot dogs. It was just beautiful, the way that connection just happened, and people from Bullhead were coming in. Sorry, I get this way because it touches my heart, and I love what I do. So very appreciative of all the people. I just want to show you how many people everywhere, Kingman, all of these people help us out and keep us connected. So it's very important to keep that going. Next slide. Sorry, I can't. Right here. Yeah, no.
Okay.
And then just through those connectivities, it allows our students to display their future dreams and wishes. We have X-ray techs. They participate in poster contests. And they're placing spelling bees. We have local artists who was a former student, did our new mural. More people wanting to come back and make Black Mountain better. So. And then just showcasing, we have graduates from Lee Williams that are our alumni. They come back and talk to our students, tell about their experience. This year we had 10 students leave 8th grade, apply for Cambridge and got in. So that number's growing. and that experience for them. And we have students in our spelling bees. We had one last year make it all the way to the county to participate, but just all wonderful events, and people just reach out in strong connections. And I just can't emphasize enough how important it is to continue that and just communicate and, you know, hear what they have to say, and really, you know, accept people in, no matter what your beliefs are, anything, just make that connection, because you never know where that help's gonna come from. Thank you for your time, and like I said, I get choked up.
Vice President Grant, members of the board, I would also like to invite Director Tim Gardner to give an IT report, because there may have been some questions raised at the last meeting that he can supply information.
Hello, members of the board. Tim Gardner, Director of IT here. Just wanted to do a IT department report / update in conjunction with some concerns that were raised about the BYOD network last board meeting. To start off, we're going to talk about what is IT departments for KC's vision and goals. Basically, kept it fairly simple. We want to promote student learning and academic achievement for students in the environment, keep it safe and secure for both staff and students. And then our main goals are to make sure that there's available technology in every room, every classroom, and then management tools for teachers so that they're able to assist students with keeping them on task and making sure they're not trying to access things that they shouldn't, with management tools such as ClassWise and Bayon, which allows them to see into their Chromebooks, see into their devices. And then provide reliable and efficient service. So us as an IT department, we like to make sure that if somebody's submitting a ticket or if they're reaching out, needing any assistance with technology whatsoever, that we have it kept within about a day and a half as a response time from when somebody submits a ticket to when it gets closed. So I'd like to be proud of that one. And then one of the main things I wanted to talk about was our device to student account, or student to device counts. So basically how many devices we have compared to how many students there are at each site. We did a full inventory and verification of that inventory during summer break most recently. And then the student counts are from August 25th, so they might be slightly different because our student counts vary on a day-to-day basis, but they're generally within a percent or so. So it's a lot of information, but each school is broken down into how many students they have. Specifically, these are student devices, so how many Chromebooks / tablets, how many student desktops or laptops they have, and then the general difference between those numbers, and the percentage of 100% being 1-to-1. Anything over that is you have more devices than students. Anything under that is you have less devices than students. So some outliers, for example, would be like Little Explorers is at 39%, so they have 39% of devices compared to students. The main reason being is they have so many different programs, like they have the SPED programs, they have the daycare, they don't really use the devices, so there's a huge discrepancy there. And then Kingman Online Learning Academy and the Positive Alternative Campus is at 84%, which is slightly under because a lot of their students bring their own devices to their online classes, or they have devices at home. They don't bring their devices to class, but they work from home, so we have less devices than students there, but the ones that we do have are ones that we've directly checked out to those students. But generally, overall, we have quite a bit of devices above the amount of students we have. So like, for example, at Desert Willow, we have 73% more devices than students. So that's, again, that's Chromebooks in classrooms, that's labs if they have any, which Desert Willow actually doesn't have any labs. And then like an outlier outlier couple would be the Kingman High School and Lee Williams High School are both CTE high schools. So they have a lot of CTE labs. That's why they have such high numbers of desktops / laptops compared to the other schools. But I'd say generally across the district we have quite a number of devices. Any questions about the numbers you see?
The CTE, again, that stands for vocational type training or something?
Yes, I believe
Career technical education.
Oh, okay.
Not good with the acronyms, sorry. So it's like the Wave J10, it's Lindsay Woolsey is the CTE coordinator, so any of the programs that she's over, so like graphics arts and robotics and welding and all the different specific programs that they have at the high schools. Any of the devices that they have, those are usually the desktop ones. So they have like their design lab. At Leland specifically, they have a design laptop lab, so they're more collaborative. All those are included in those.
So every student in the school district gets a device if they don't have one?
No, not specifically. So what we do, our interpretation of one-to-one devices is basically each class has a class set of devices. So the students won't be assigned a device and then take it with them wherever they go. They go into the class and the device is already there.
Okay. So they don't take them home then?
The only ones that do are the Kingman online students that need them to actually perform to complete their work.
And is the software the same on all the devices in the school?
It'll depend on what the requirements of the class. We generally have, if it's a general education lab or if it's a Chromebook, they have the same software pushed out. But if it's a specialized lab like graphics art, they also have Adobe products pushed out. So it'll depend on what the teacher's actually teaching. We have a baseline of devices for all students, and then if they are teaching a specialized program, they'll have that in step as well.
And so is a laptop computer step above a Chromebook computer? I don't
With the
know
way
much
that
about
they've been developing Chromebooks lately, they're not too much different, but with laptops, you're able to put more in them. So like they have better processing speeds, they have better memory, they're able to do more than Chromebooks usually. And then there's a lot of programs, specialized programs that won't work on Chromebooks. So for example, like the Adobe products, there's a version that'll work on Chromebooks, but specifically Adobe and its entire suite is better on like a laptop or a desktop.
Is there any disagreement between the students about which device they get? Oh, you've got a laptop, I only got a Chromebook. Is there any kind of?
Not really, because within a classroom, everybody's gonna have the same device.
Okay.
So like if you're in a design lab, you're gonna have one of those design laptops. If you're in a general education classroom, you're probably gonna have a Chromebook.
I see.
So it's not like one student in that class is gonna have a laptop, another will have a Chromebook. Since the devices are housed in those classrooms, they're all gonna have the same device when they're in that classroom.
This is kind of a esoteric question, but have there been any studies on the academic accomplishments of students who use Chromebooks as opposed to the ones who use laptops? I mean, can we show that a certain kind of computer helps somebody progress further academically than another type, or?
I'd say it's mostly negligible. The biggest factor would probably be usability of the device. So if a student has a disability, or if they have poor eyesight, or if they have trouble focusing on a task, maybe a bigger screen, a bigger keyboard, maybe some more peripherals like a mouse or a separate keyboard, which we would be able to provide for Chromebooks, but laptops generally have bigger screens. So in that aspect, I think it would be slightly different academic achievement, but if you're looking to see just at Chromebooks versus just at laptops, I think it's negligible.
Well, appreciate what you're doing. I think it's just great. I think it's great that these young people can have these devices. Thank you for your hard work.
Of course, trying to get as many out there as we can.
You mentioned that the percentage of devices to students doesn't necessarily paint the picture of access, because some are focused on the classroom and they don't leave with that student. How long, if a class size is bigger than expected, does it take for us to fill that void with an additional Chromebook if that class needs another one?
Well, generally the class will have more devices Chromebook-wise than they need initially. So like a class that has 32 will have a set of 36.
Okay.
So if any break or if they have any additional students, that gap will generally cover all that. I'm going to call on Mr. Bear because he actually has more Chromebooks because his class sizes are bigger usually. So we have provided him additional ones. I don't know how long it actually took us to provide, but we are more than willing to have those conversations and say, oh, your class size is bigger, your class size is smaller. You can reallocate devices to your class or away based on what those needs are.
Perfect.
And we do give back, like if Tim needs for another class, we give our extras to them. And then if we need them back, they'll backfill them.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Ready to move on? Next, I wanted to talk about what really goes into student internet safety. Generally, when we're talking about student internet safety, we're talking about one of these three acts. One is an act/rule, one, and those are SIPA, COPPA, and FERPA. So those are the Children's Internet Protection Act, the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act/rule, or the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. So whenever we do anything with our filter or access to different programs, websites, different curriculum programs that we would use, we usually refer to one of these three. Mainly because we are beholden to federal and state legislature that we have to. So going into those, SIPA, us as a district, to get certain state funds, and I'll go over those in a second, we have to prove that we cover each of these in regards to minors. So inappropriate matter, we have to prevent them from getting to pornography sites or inappropriate sites that are violence or anything like that. Direct electronic communications, things like email or chat sites for cyberbullying, we have to make sure we're covering that. And then like unauthorized PII handling is anything personal information about the student, we have to make sure that we're protecting that effectively. And so when we are in compliance with SIPA, we get what's called E-rate funds. So every 5 years, there's a cycle of E-rate funds that the district is assigned as long as we're within SIPA regulations. And they're broken down into two different discount categories. So we have category 1, which is things like our ALLO internet access and our connections between the schools. And then category 2, which is like the internet connections within the sites and then the network hardware itself. So whenever we have one of these big projects, say the project's $100,000, we're only paying 10% of that. So overall, when we're in SIPA compliance, it saves a lot of money for the district. And I take advantage of that wholly. So like our ALLO internet bill is only 10% of what it would be if we weren't in compliance with that. Next would be COPPA. And then this one is basically when we're allowing students to access websites or online services, we have to be diligent to make sure that whatever information the students are providing to those websites or services, they're handling it how we want them to. So basically, like our cybersecurity administrator will go in and look at their privacy policy, whatever security policies that they have to make sure that they are following SIPA, COPPA, and FERPA rules. Otherwise, we can't reliably go with them. We can't in good conscience go with them. And we actually have a process for that where somebody will submit that request, your cybersecurity administrator will look at all of those policies and procedures, and then she'll write up a whole report and then usually provide it to Liz Alder's curriculum director here if it involves her or whoever initially made that request. And then the things that we change is we'll deny access or we'll allow access or we'll change filtering so they can't get to it or we'll change it so they can. Just generally blanket changes there. And then the last one is FERPA. And this is in regards to student educational records and then the privacy of and making sure that only the people that are supposed to have them have them. So one of the main things with this is PII, and that's anything that's personally identifiable. Full legal name, your address, your social security number, that's all information that identifies who you are, so we have to make sure that we're protecting that. And then any school info, which is anything like grades, disciplinary, health records. And then there's very specific regulations on like who can access that kind of information. And then we have to make sure that when people are sending emails back and forth or when they're talking to people outside the district that they're not sending information that they shouldn't be. All of this is important because we're going to talk about what BYOD access means. So BYOD is a bring your own device network, and it's so anybody that has a cell phone or laptop or any kind of wireless capable device, if they bring it to the district, how would we get them connected to a network? That's why it's bring your own device. So that process, what it usually looks like getting connected is we have a BYOD policy guideline in-house in IT. So if the devices have to meet a certain standard for an operating system version, they have to be up to date on whatever their security updates are. They have to have an antivirus, they have to make sure that they're being filtered properly. So when they first get connected to the BYOD, it's not liking me, sorry. When they first get connected to a BYOD, it installs a certificate on their device. I actually think it's that one. Can you mute that one, Mr. Brewer? It's on the front of it. Sorry about that. So whatever device we put on BYOD, we have to install a certificate because it tells our network to trust that device and tells our device to trust our network. If we're not able to do that, it can't get on BYOD. And then we are required to put all of our filtering policies on it. Currently, the only ones out are the staff ones. So we have to create new staff policies if there are student devices that need to get connected. And then within our BYOD policy, we do state that for any reason, access to it can be revoked. If you have too many devices, if we see you've been inappropriate with your access there. Currently, it's if a staff member has been giving it to students, they get revoked because students aren't supposed to currently be able to get access to it. So that is the process for BYOD. And if we wanted to allow student access to it, the process to do that wouldn't be some overly complicated. We would basically just create a new network that's separate from the staff one, that's more filtered down. So it's meeting all of those regulations and everything. But then we would also have to make sure that every single device that a student brings in has to follow the BYOD policy. Because any kind of security vulnerabilities that they have on their device, if they don't have everything up to date, if they don't have an antivirus on it, we can't in good conscience put it on there, because if it gets compromised, we could be losing student data, we could be losing staff data. So that's just, the conversation really hasn't happened before about having students on there, except in passing. So it is a possibility to have a BYOD access for students. I would just be concerned based on the regulations that we are beholden to, that tracking all of that would be a little burdensome. But we are more than willing to do so if it is so needed.
What would be our network vulnerability with the BYOD devices? Like, I know several districts in our state have gotten ransom viruses, and that's messy.
So if there's some things we can do as an IT department to separate it fully from other traffic that we have, but then it would also restrict what they'd be able to do on it, the network even more so. If we did that properly, if any of the device on there got affected, then any other device on BYOD would also be vulnerable, but the rest of our network would be safe. If we set it up exactly the same way as the staff one is right now, and somebody brought in a virus into the environment, then everybody would be at risk.
That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, so we have to be very careful on who we give access to and how we approach it.
If a student accesses services, internet, on our campus, are we held responsible for following those laws, even if it's, like, say, like a public internet access or an open access, like in a hotel lobby or at an airport?
We're definitely going to be responsible for our own devices, no matter what they do on those devices, which is why we have those management systems in place. So even if they, like the Colo Chromebooks, when they take them home and they're on their home devices, they still have our filtering policies on those devices. So all of the things that we're beholden to are still occurring when they're at home. But if anything were to happen to that device while they're at an airport or something like that, it would be our responsibility to make sure that it doesn't affect anything else, that there's no repercussions because of that. If somebody were to bring the personal device onto our network, we are fully responsible for whatever happens on our network. So if anybody's personal information gets lost because of something somebody brings in, we are at stake.
Perfect, thank you.
So if someone is using, for instance, a cellular device or an iPad, but they're not on our network, they're on Verizon or whatever their cell network is, but they're on our campus, how does that impact our liability?
Because they're not on our device and they're not on our network, the responsibility lies solely with them. If they are a staff member and they're mishandling information, then that's a conversation between us and them, and that's legal gets involved there.
Okay.
Any questions? I think that was everything. No, I have one more slide, I forgot. I added it this morning. I also wanted to go over some upcoming or ongoing projects, just to keep you guys informed. So currently, we are in the midst of figuring out replacing all staff devices at Walpite and Kingman Middle to make sure we align with a 6-year life cycle. So we're doing 2 schools this year, and we're going to try to do 2 each year. There's some that we're going to be able to do 3 because of how many staff devices they have. Kingman High School has 110, so that's probably going to be the only one that we do that year. Each device is about $950, and it comes included with like all peripherals like monitor and everything like that. So we're going to be focusing on Walpite and Kingman Middle this year. We have 2 ongoing projects for Little Explorers and White Cliffs. We've already done the walkthrough. I have not gotten an official quote yet. Once we replace their bell systems or / intercom systems, they will be, all of the sites at our district will now be on a newer system within the last 5 years, instead of one that's 25 or 30 or 40 years old, which they're currently on one that is almost that old. And then we'll be in a good position for the intercoms, bell systems, for paging, all that at those sites. And then last but not least is camera overhaul at Black Mountain. We're transitioning from a We have 2 camera systems right now. We have Axis and Verkada, and we're transitioning to Verkada. In the process of that, we're adding on 21 new cameras to cover external blind site, mostly external blind spots around like the 300 building on the west and north side, on the southwest side of the main building, like the entry and exits. And then internally, there's a couple blind spots that need to be covered as well, so we have about 4 on the internal there. So, those are exciting things from the IT world, and that is everything.
Where are you with the implementation of AI for use in the classroom?
So every teacher or staff member in general, I sent out an email to everybody at the beginning of the year, like, hey, if you would like AI access, here's how you go about getting it. And then every week I check to make sure that those people are being added to the AI access. And then we have not had the conversation yet for students, but there have been some requests that we start up those conversations. So I'm working on getting the initial meeting for this year scheduled, where then we can have teacher input, hopefully get some students involved to figure out how it will be rolled out to them. But as it stands, any staff member that wants access to AI just needs to submit the AI ethics questionnaire, read through some of the privacy policies, and then they'll be good to go.
Because I know Google has an add-on that's specifically for teachers that's FERPA compliant.
Yep.
That is fantastic. I'd love to see that implemented.
It's definitely been exciting news.
Has there been interest from the teachers? Has it been
We're at about,
positive?
for AI use in general,
Getting to it, yeah, for.
we're at about 100 total staff members in the district that have requested it.
And not to do with the AI, but what do you guys do with the computers after the 6 years? Just strip them for.
If they're still usable, we can then make them student devices, or we can find another purpose for them. A lot of the time, we can then, if they're custom builds or even if they're pre-built ones, we can upgrade the system. We can put more RAM in there, a new CPU, graphics card maybe. If that's not possible, or if the hardware is too old, then we'll usually deem them auctionable. So we'll take out the hard drive so there's no information in there, and then we will work with finance to get them auctioned off through public surplus. So then we're not just holding on to them or throwing them away, we're trying to get something back. But it has been a couple years since we've been on that life cycle, so we're a little bit behind.
Yeah, I just want to know what you do with the information that was on it.
Yep. No, we pull all the hard drives and we make sure we call it spiking because we drill a hole through the disk so they're inoperable afterwards.
Perfect. Thank you.
So where in the budget do you get your money for the computers? Where in the school budget?
Oh, where do I get my budget?
It depends. So it would be M&O or capital, depending on what the items are. But we do meet with Tim on a regular basis and at least yearly to go over the next year's budget. And so it does come out of our general fund.
Yep. And I'll usually bring to those discussions like what I've used within the past year. Like this, I'll break down everything. Here's supplies. Here's things that are important to the district. Here's a little bit less important. If we need to cut costs, here's how we do it. And then we have those discussions and figure out where we need to go from
Great. So everybody's in agreement by the time you.
Usually.
Yeah.
Unless they're not saying anything, yeah.
Unless we're cutting his budget, then he might not be in agreement.
At least in compromise.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, item number 6, which is the approval of the routine orders of business. Is there any items that the board would request to be removed or pulled? If not, can I get a motion?
I move to accept the consent agenda as is.
And I will second it.
Is there any questions or comments? All those in favor? Okay. Item number 7, the first reading of changes in policy as recommended by ASBA. And this is discussion only.
Vice President Grant, members of the board. 2 very simple policies this time. The first one has to do with IVP fingerprint requirements, and there's some additional language in the policy, and we can tell you that the past few years, our IVP policy is that everybody has one, and we've made accommodations and given opportunities for those who have been employed for a long time to kind of catch up and get an IVP, so this is a very easy change for us. And then the second one on the graduation requirement, the additional language was for accommodation schools, which we do not have.
Thank you. Any questions for Dr. Dorner for the first read?
I just have one question about the IVP cards. When we have student teachers, are they I know if they're in a state school, they have to have an IVP card. If they're coming, like from WGU, they have to have a separate background check that's not an AZ Department of Public Safety. Do they also have to do the WGU background check and the IVP
That is a
card?
great question, and I do not know the answer.
I believe they do.
I would imagine, yes. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just-
Anybody
that's
with
around the students has to have.
Okay.
Anybody with students, we expect an IVP, but
Yeah.
I was assuming they came with.
Just curious. Thank you.
Great. Item number 8, which is the second reading of changes in policy as recommended by ASBA, and it's policy 909 through 914. Any questions from the board?
I'll make a motion to approve the second reading of policies as recommended by the ASBA.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Otherwise, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Item 9, books on display. This is informational only.
Hello, Vice President Grant, members of the board. The first novel that's on the agenda for approval is A Long Walk to Water, which is based on a true story. It's written by Linda Sue Park. This novel was presented to the curriculum committee on August 19th by White Cliffs. It was brought to the curriculum committee by White Cliffs Cambridge English teacher Jen Stewart, and then presented to the committee by Advanced Learning Programs Coordinator Margaret Stevenson. After reviewing Mrs. Stewart's proposal about how the novel would support the 6th grade English language arts standards and Cambridge assessment objectives, the curriculum committee voted to bring the novel to the board for possible approval. The novel goes on display today for the required 60 days in order for the public to review and make comments. It will come back to you for possible approval at the November 13th board meeting, and I will inform you of any comments that I hear from the public at that time.
And then item 10 is also a book on display.
Yes. This one was also presented at the curriculum committee on August 19th by White Cliffs Middle School English teacher Lori Roush. She presented how the novel will be used to support instruction on the 8th grade English language arts standards. After reviewing her proposal, the curriculum committee voted to bring the novel to the board for possible approval. Again, it goes on display today for the required 60 days for the public to review and make comments. It will come back to you at the November 13th board meeting for approval, and I will provide you with any comments that I hear from the public.
I have questions, not related to this, but related to books.
Okay.
So, if a book doesn't perform well, does it get removed from the curriculum or removed from the approved learning materials?
It's a really great question, because it's one that has come up recently, and what my proposed action for that would be, it would come back to the curriculum committee. We'd review the data and bring it back to the board to remove it from the approved novel list.
Awesome. Thank you. Item number 11, request a motion to adjourn from the regular meeting and to go into a public meeting for the discussion of the fiscal year 26 budget revisions.
I move to adjourn the regular meeting and go into a public meeting for discussion of the fiscal year 26 budget decisions.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, item 12, public meeting. Hi.
Vice President Grant and members of the board, this is a quick revision. This budget revision is due to the delay in the state budget and funding approval. So we adopted our FY26 budget on preliminary budget forms that did not reflect the 2% base limit increase that was approved by the state. Our student count estimate has stayed the same on this revision because the state has not updated this fiscal year ADM reports to reflect current enrollment. They're still using the end of last year's ADM count. The 2% increase currently would calculate to about $1,753. I've added this as a potential carryover, and all other budgeted line items have remained the same. We still need to work on aligning our expenditures with our student enrollment because the loss of students could negate that 2% increase. There was also a slight change to our estimated expenditures from FY25 as we're getting closer to ending the fiscal year. So they were slightly lower than estimated at our budget adoption, which has slightly increased our carryover. Currently, our deficit for FY25 is about $2.4 million, but we're still working on closing out last year, and so this number may change. And that was about the number that's been estimated through budget workshops and everything throughout the fiscal year. The only other change on this revision is an update to the primary and secondary tax rates. They were slightly lower than estimated on our adopted budget. And then we'll do more substantial changes during the December and/or May revisions as required. Any questions?
So I know that we were utilizing some of our surplus from previous years, and so will this 2% kind of mitigate us having to continue to use that number?
Yes, I'm hoping. So we did make cuts last year, so I'm hoping with the cuts that we have made, this potential increase could get us closer to breaking even, which breaking even is not quite the goal either, but better than a deficit. So as we continue to monitor student enrollment, we talk about it all the time, we are looking at the reports all the time, that really is the main factor. And so as we continue to monitor that, we have to look at our expenditures, staffing ratios, everything across the board is up for discussion.
And this is a public meeting, so anyone can speak. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much. Item number 13 is a motion to adjourn from the public meeting and reconvene into the regular board meeting.
I move that we adjourn from the public meeting and reconvene into the regular board meeting.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Item 14, possible action to approve the fiscal year 26 budget revisions. Is there a motion?
I move to adopt the revisions, or approve the revisions.
Is there a second?
I can second that motion.
Okay. Any discussion or questions from the board? All those in favor?
Aye.
Item 15, approve the listed donations. Is there a motion to approve the donations? Any comments or questions?
I'd just like to say thank you to everyone in our community that continues to support our schools.
I agree.
And I move to accept the donations.
And I will second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Possible action on the request of Ms. Cake to be released from her employment contract effective December 31st, 2025, and employ her in the same teaching position beginning January 5th, 2026 as a leased employee through ESI.
Vice President Grant and members of the board, Tisha Cake is a teacher at White Cliffs Middle School, and she has asked to retire through ASRS effective December 31st, and she desires to come back through ESI as a leased employee. She would start that role, if it's approved, January 5th.
So there would be no gap in teacher in the classroom.
No.
How many years has she taught?
She's been here since 2022.
So she can retire in 3 years.
She has prior teaching experience elsewhere,
Okay.
so she has enough to retire with ASRS.
What is it, how many years does a person have to be able to?
It varies.
There, based on their age and, okay.
Is there a motion on the table for item number 16?
I'll make the motion to allow her to, whatever.
I'll second.
All right, so all those in favor? Aye. Item 17, possible motion to move into executive session per ARS 38-431.03 to discuss the request to be released from employment by Christopher Miller.
I'll move that we move into executive session to discuss.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Matthew, free to go if you have Mr. Board.
that we reconvene into regular session.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Item 19, possible action to request by Christopher Miller, instructional coach, to be released from his this school year 25-26 employment contract effective September 8th, 2025.
I move that we release him, impose the penalty, and report him to the board.
Okay? Is there?
State board.
I'll second that.
Okay, so the motion is to accept the resignation of Christopher Miller, instructional coach, effective September 8th, but due to the breach of contract, to impose the fee as well as to report to the Arizona Educational Board the breach of contract.
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Item 20, board comments. Is there any comments from the board?
Not a whole lot. Thank you guys again for coming and speaking for us today. I truly appreciate everything you all do, except for that.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
I will make the motion to adjourn the meeting.
I will second. All those in favor?
Aye.